25 days after the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history, the country is dealing with another senseless act of violence. This time, worship is the scene of the deadliest shooting in Texas history. Residents of Sutherland Springs gathered last night near the church where the massacre took place to remember the victims.
A gunman killed 26 people in the attack during Sunday morning services. About 20 other people were injured. After a chase, police found the suspect dead with a gunshot wound inside his vehicle.
CBS News has learned he is 26-year-old Devin Patrick Kelly. Investigators do believe that he shot himself in the small community of Sutherland Springs, which is about 30 miles southeast of San Antonio, is the latest target today. Jeff Bohr is at the First Baptist Church with how this investigation is progressing. Jeff, a lot of people still can't believe this happened at church on Sunday morning. Good morning to you.
Texas is heartbroken this morning, Gail. You can see behind me here, this is the church. Directly behind me is a Sunday school building, which is part of the church complex. And then over that, you see the steeple and then the lights from investigators as they continue all of their work this morning. Texas Governor Greg Abbott described the massacre here as an act of pure evil. Churchgoers were gunned down shortly after they settled in for the start of Sunday morning services. Investigators do not know at this point if the suspect has any connection to terrorism, but yesterday he came to this house of worship dressed in all black, apparently prepared to inflict all this damage. The anguish in a small town after police say Devin Patrick Kelly opened fire and killed over 24 worshipers at the First Baptist Church.
I saw the guy, and to know that that's what he was doing, it just, your mind doesn't want to process it.
Investigators say the suspect was first spotted at a Valero gas station across the street around 11:20 a.m. Sunday.
That suspect crossed the street to the church, exited his vehicle, and began firing at the church. That suspect then moved to the right side of the church and continued to fire.
Dressed in all-black tactical gear and a ballistic vest, Kelly went inside and kept firing his AR-15 type rifle. Soon after, he returned outside where a neighbor engaged him in a gun battle.
I just pulled up to an intersection and saw gunfire.
Johnny Langendorf and that neighbor chased after the gunman as he fled the scene.
The gentleman with the rifle came to my truck as the shooter took off, and he briefed me quickly on what had just happened and said that we had to get him, and we just take pursuit. And we, like I said, we hit about 95 trying to catch this guy until he eventually lost control on his own and went off in the ditch. He just hurt so many people, and he just affected so many people's lives. Why wouldn't you want to take him down?
When police arrived a few minutes later, they found the suspect dead in the driver's seat. CBS News has learned Kelly served at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico from 2010 to 2014. He was court-martialed in 2012 on charges he assaulted his spouse and child. Kelly was sentenced to 12 months confinement and received a bad conduct discharge. Wilson County Sheriff Joe Tackett is with us now. Sheriff, thank you for being here. Let me start with how the folks who are still in the hospital are doing this morning.
We understand at this point that they're in stable condition, and that's about all we know at this time.
Where is your investigation right now?
Well, right now it's kind of at a standstill. People are trying to get some rest, and we still got a lot of shell casings and things we need to go through over there at the church, and it's going to take hours to do that, but the suspect is deceased, so at this point we don't have anyone to start questioning.
Tell me more about how you believe he came into the building, and then also what happened after.
Well, we believe he was over here at this station, convenience store, and then went around the church firing rounds, and then came back to the front and went in the front door, went all the way up to the front firing as he was going, and then turned around going out the door. At that point, we believe he dropped his rifle. A citizen was across the street. They engaged in firefight for just a little bit. The suspect gets in his vehicle and takes off. I'm calling him a hero here in town. Then stops a guy in a truck, and says, "I need help. This guy just shot up the church. Follow him."
So the two guys involved now in following him, or in this
truck. And there was some gunfire exchanged, I think, on the roadway also. And then he wrecked out. And at this time, we believe that he had a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
He shot himself after he pulled over.
After he wrecked out.
You grew up here.
Yes.
Tell me about this community.
This is a close-knit community. I mean, everybody here in the community knows everyone, you know, and they help each other. And I mean, it's just going to be traumatic for a lot of people, but they're going to come together. They're strong people.
I know you're very, very busy, Sheriff, so thank you for your time. Our thoughts are with you this morning.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
The victims range in age from 5 to 72. So far, we know the names of 3 of the 26 people killed. Emily Ward was 7 years old. Joanne Ward was a mother of 4. Annabelle Pomeroy, who was 14, is the pastor's daughter. Omar Villafranca is also in Sutherland Springs here. Omar, good morning.
Good morning. Sutherland Springs, as you heard the sheriff say, small and tight-knit. Only a few hundred people live here. Everyone knows everyone, and it's like you said, there's a church over there. There's the post office where yesterday dozens of people gathered here to offer up their prayers, but to also wonder why. Hours after gunfire claimed the lives of more than 24 members of this community, there were candles and tears. Joyce Emily lives in nearby Lavernia.
Any type of act that they were doing in the church, there was somebody lost in almost every aspect, I think.
Among the dead, 14-year-old Annabelle Pomeroy, Pastor Frank Pomeroy's daughter.
Annabelle's been wanting to ride with me and go with me here and there. And,
in his sermon 2 weekends ago, the pastor talked about how he rode his Harley to church with Annabelle that morning.
It was a beautiful ride. Yes, it was a little chilly, but watching the sun come up over the sun was just coming up as we were riding down 467. She was back there cuddled behind me, and when I pointed at the temperature gauge, I felt her snuggle in even tighter.
Pastor Frank and his wife Sherry were both out of state when the shooting happened. Also among the victims, 7-year-old Emily and her mother Joanne Ward. A friend confirmed her passing on Facebook, writing, "Is it possible to physically feel your heart break?"
We're a small, as we call it, a small little redneck town in the country. Why this church? Why people that I grew up with? You know, why them?
Texas Governor Greg Abbott attended last night's vigil. Earlier, he had some advice for grieving Texans.
As governor, I ask for every mom and dad at home tonight that you put your arm around your kid and give your kid a big hug and let them know how much you love them.
This shooting may have been captured on camera. The church routinely records their Sunday services and then posts them on YouTube. Jeff, people in this community are now wrestling with the idea that a large percentage of the residents here were killed.
All right, Omar, thank you very much. As we head back to New York now, and to Gail. Gail, it is it's almost impossible for everyone here to wrap their minds around exactly what happened yesterday.
It's impossible for anybody anywhere, Jeff. Thank you very much to wrap your brains around what happened. And we always keep asking why. No matter what the answer is, it's never going to be satisfying.
Never going to be satisfying.
And it's another one of those stories, here we go again.
Life snuffed out.
That's right.
A daughter that can never speak to you.
In a small town like that.
5-year-old.
Mm-hmm. I love the question, is it possible to physically feel your heart break? The answer is yeah. Look at that
President
story.
Trump called the Texas gunman deranged and said the shooting is a mental health problem at the highest level. He made the comment overnight at a joint news conference in Tokyo with the Prime Minister of Japan. The president is wrapping up the Japanese part of a 5-nation trip through Asia. He'll be in Seoul, South Korea tomorrow before going to Beijing, China. Major Garrett is traveling with the president. He's in Tokyo. Good morning.
Good morning. Confronted with a second mass shooting of his presidency, this time while traveling in a country where gun violence is virtually non-existent, President Trump offered prayers and condolences. And just as he did after the Las Vegas massacre, said in these early grief-filled hours, it is simply too soon to talk about gun control.
This isn't a guns situation. I mean, we could go into it, but it's a little bit soon to go into it.
Standing with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, the president cast the Texas massacre strictly as a matter of mental illness.
This is a mental health problem at the highest level.
In his first remarks on the shooting, Mr. Trump called it an act of evil, but did not, as he did soon after the terrorist attack in New York, describe the assailant as an animal.
The victims and their families were in their place of sacred worship. We cannot put into words the pain and grief we all feel.
The president came to Japan to begin a region-wide push to intensify economic and diplomatic pressure on North Korea, repeating his determination to force Pyongyang to relinquish its nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles that U.S. intelligence fears could soon reach the U.S. mainland.
The era of strategic patience is over. Some people said that my rhetoric is very strong. But look what's happened with very weak rhetoric over the last 25 years.
Abe has pledged to increase military spending to prevent more ballistic missiles launched over his country by North Korea. Mr. Trump said the U.S. could help the prime minister with that problem.
He will shoot them out of the sky when he completes the purchase of lots of additional military equipment from the United States.
During his 2 days here, the president said repeatedly Japan was inclined to purchase a wide variety of U.S. weaponry. For the most part, the prime minister remained quiet during these declarations, but in the end said Japan is inclined to purchase more F-35s and anti-missile ships for its Navy. Specifics remain elusive and may fall well short of the president's lofty expectations. Nora?
All right, Major Garrett in Tokyo, thank you.